I live in New Jersey, the state known for its haunted roads. Crack open a copy of Weird New Jersey, and you'll see what I mean. Clinton Road, a body dump site for the mafia, and home of a little ghost boy. Shades of Death Road, where a woman buried her husband's head and body on opposite sides of the street. But have you ever heard of Victoria's Road? It's in Warren County, where the congestion of Jersey suburbs fades out into mountains and trees. It's easy to miss, just a narrow gap in the thick forest that you'll drive right by if you aren't careful. But if you find it, you'll see, walking along the side of the road, a woman in a purple dress. You can ask her one question, any question. She will tell you the answer. I went with my best friend Mira late one summer night. We were parked on the side of the road, overlooking the valley below, to review the rules. The air was thick with the sound of summer crickets and smell of barbecues from the houses on the mountain. The rest of the forest was black with shadows. Mira handed me the piece of paper, now damp and crumpled. It was in my pocket all day. Sorry, she said, through smacks of gum. I rolled my eyes and began to read. 1. You must be the only car on the road. For this reason, go late at night or early in the morning. Check. It was 12:45 a.m. 2. Your radio must be tuned to 102.2 for the entirety of the drive. Turn off all other devices, including your cell phones. I don't think it's even possible to get that station, I said as I turned off my phone. But when Mira gave the dial a spin, it easily landed on 102.2. Static filled the car. 3. Don't stop your car for any reason other than Victoria. No matter what you see or hear, do not stop. Weird, I said to Mira. She shrugged. 4. Do not, under any circumstances, attempt to make a U-turn or go back the way you came. Well, that's easy enough, I said. You ready, Mira? She nodded. I turned back onto the road and rolled down the window. Yellow fireflies danced between the trees. The sounds of crickets filled the air. The breeze was warm and humid. Are you sure it's this way? I asked. The road tilted up, climbing the mountain. In a few minutes, we'd be at the top. Positive, Mira said. It's just around the bend. There. She was right. Within minutes, a tilted signpost came into view. Faded and cracked, wrapped with vines and foliage. Victoria's Road. I turned on the blinker, despite the road being completely empty, and swung left. The road was dark. The headlights barely punctured the thick shadows. It was as if we were submerged in murky water. Mira, however, didn't seem perturbed. She practically vibrated with excitement. So, if this thing works, which it probably won't, I know, what are you going to ask her? Oh, I don't know. Maybe what college will accept me? That was a lie. I knew exactly what I wanted to ask her. Is Dad ever coming back? After he met Linda 3 years ago, it's all been missed calls, one-word texts, empty promises. So, what do you want to ask her? If Sarah McCaffrey likes me, duh. Her? What's wrong with her? Isn't she super Christian? Like Bibles and white dresses and cross necklaces all the time? Are you sure she's even... Mira stared at me blankly. Christians can be gay too, Hannah. I suddenly felt dumb. Well, I just assumed. My foot hit the brake. We jolted to a halt. A deer sauntered across the road. It stopped in the center and turned towards us, its eyes glowing in the headlights. Oh my gosh, that scared the bejesus out of me, Mira said. My heart pounded in my chest. But then she grew annoyed. Wait, we're not supposed to stop. Rule number 3. We're gonna screw it up. What do you want me to do? Plow into the deer? We have to wait for it to cross. Fine. But as we sat there, the deer didn't move. It just stood there, in the headlights, watching us. Get out of the way, come on. Finally, as if my thoughts willed it, it took a step. Not towards the woods. A step forward, towards our car. What's it doing? Mira asked. It walked closer, its fur scratching against the hood of the car, until it was just a few feet from my window. It stared at me with those black, glinting eyes. Then it reared its head and rammed the car. What the hell? I screamed. The car jolted forward. We sped down the dark road. What a crazy-ass deer. It must be rabbit or something. Mira shook her head. Is the car okay? Did it leave a dent? No idea. If it did, Mom's gonna kill me. We drove for the next few minutes in silence, save for the crackles of static from the radio. The road continued through the forest, growing even darker and narrower. I don't like this at all. Maybe we should turn around. We continued down the dark road. It grew narrower and bumpier. Mira and I jostled in our seats, and a few branches scraped at the windows. I don't know if this is safe, I said. Maybe we should turn around. Are you chickening out already? I'm not chickening out. What if we hit another deer or... I stopped. The static on the radio had fizzled to silence. But when I looked at the car's glowing console, it no longer said FM radio. It said Bluetooth audio, like it does when my phone is connected. Hannah? A man's voice came through the speakers, cut with static. Hannah? Hey, you there? I gulped. Dad? Is that you? Yeah. He laughed his cheerful, warm laugh. Sorry to call you so late, but I happen to be driving through Blairstown right now. Had a work thing in Philly. Do you want to meet up? Now? I said. Yeah, where are you? We can meet at that 24-hour diner. I'm with Mira. We're, just on a little adventure. Oh, sounds fun. He laughed again, and my heart soared. Well, do you want to meet up? I'll be there in about 15 minutes. I glanced at Mira. Yeah, okay. Click. I'm so sorry, Mira. We'll have to do this some other time. I began turning the wheel, swinging left. The headlight swept through the dark forest, cut with lines of trees. I haven't seen my dad in 6 months, and we've been trying to reach each other. Mira thrust her hand into my pocket. Hey, what are you... She pulled out my phone. You turned your phone off, remember? It was in the rules. Her voice began to tremble. There's no way that could have been your dad, Hannah. But I... Do not at any point attempt to turn around. Rule number 4, remember? I stared out the window, at the disjointed shadows, at the road that disappeared into the black. And then I continued forward. Tears burned at my eyes. Hearing his voice again. I shook my head, forcing the thought out of my head. The static faded back in. The road began to dip down, as if we were finally descending the mountain. Wayward branches scraped at the car. I slowly rolled down the window, but the summer air was silent, devoid of crickets, wind, rustling. And then Mira screamed. Watch out! A blur of white darted out of the forest, in front of the car. I hit the brakes. But it was too late. What was that? Mira asked, her voice trembling. Another deer, maybe? But I knew it wasn't. I was numb, frozen, paralyzed. What did we just hit? I didn't want to know. I wanted to turn around, speed as fast as we could down the road, back to safety. Pretend like whatever we hit, it never happened. We were never here. We should go out and check, Mira said, but she didn't move to open the door. I'll get out and check. I forced myself to open the door and take a shaking step onto the cold asphalt. The headlights shone into the darkness, motes of dust and debris swirling in the light. The surrounding forest was silent. My heart thrummed in my chest. I stared at the ground as I paced towards the front of the car, waiting for something terrible to come into view. The space under the wheel was empty. Just smooth, empty asphalt, darker than the surrounding trees. Nothing here so far. Maybe I'm okay. I took another step. More of the road came into view in front of the car. It was empty. Still nothing. It must have been my imagination. I took another step, rounding the corner. No. Sticking out from under the car was a bit of white cloth, wrinkled, crushed, speckled with deep red stains. I crumpled to my knees. A lifeless figure was halfway pinned underneath the front tires. Pale, smooth skin of an arm became a crushed, mangled mess as it met the tire. Tangles of auburn hair, whether stained from the blood or natural, I couldn't tell, spread out across the asphalt. I shot to my feet. Mira's eyes met mine through the windshield. As soon as our stares locked, she understood. Oh my God, Hannah. I broke into choking sobs. I didn't mean to. I didn't even see her. I looked down again at my feet, as if I expected her to suddenly disappear. But the white cloth was still there, poking out from under the hood. I didn't mean to. Oh my God, what are we... My sentence ended in a strangled yelp. Something cold grabbed my ankle. Hard. It violently tugged. I fell to the ground. The tar scraped against my chest. The metal bumper hit my head with a sickening thump. It was pulling me under the car. And then all I saw was darkness, save for the few inches of light between the dark metal of the car and the pavement. Help! I screamed. My voice was muffled, muted under the car. I thrashed and squirmed, but the grip held tight. I looked back. All I could see was a mangled mess of white cloth, blood and red hair, unnaturally contorted and jumbled, as if she were horribly disfigured before I even hit her. I screamed as my body scraped against the tar, staring at that little gap of light. Mira's face appeared. She grabbed my hand and pulled. Hannah, hold on, she yelled. She yanked and tugged with all her might. The cold hand released. Within a few seconds, I was out, panting in the darkness. Hannah, are you okay? She kept asking, but all I could hear was a ringing in my ears. I'm okay, I groaned, stumbling to my feet. I think I am. What was that? The roar of the engine began. We looked up. The woman was no longer under the car, and the car was rolling forward. Run! The car roared towards us, flew down the road. The mirror glanced off my shoulder. It sent me flying into the forest. Branches and trees scraped against my chest. Headlights flashed in my eyes. I stumbled blindly. My toe hooked onto a branch, and I fell forward. How do we get out of here? I screamed breathlessly. I have no idea, Mira yelled back, several feet away from me in the darkness. The headlights flashed across the tree trunks, shifting the shadows. I stood up, backed away. The sticks crunched under my feet. The wind whistled through the trees. Mira's hands fell on my shoulders. She was shaking with fear. The car careened into the bushes, towards the trees, half off the road and threatening to follow us into the forest. I squinted at the windshield. Through the bright light, I could make out that horrendous, misshapen head staring back at us. "Help!" Mira screamed. "Someone, please!" A voice. Over the roar of the engine, the sounds of our ragged breaths, replied, "Yes?" We both looked up. There, among the shadows of the trees, was a woman wearing a purple dress. We ran towards her, aching and breathless and terrified. She stood against one of the trees, thin and tall and smiling. The dress fell to the ground, seeming to melt into the dirt, leaves, roots. The woman in the purple dress. You may ask her one question only, and she has to answer it. I no longer wanted to ask about my dad, or colleges, or anything else. Everything was gone from my mind, except one singular, ultimate question. I took a deep breath and shouted, "How do we get out of here?" I looked up. She was suddenly standing just a few feet in front of us, towering over Mira and I, her long, dark hair fluttering in the wind. "That's always the question, isn't it?" she asked, with a sad smile. The car roared in the distance, headlights flashing over her face. She lifted a hand and pointed into the darkness of the woods. "Run that way. Don't stop until you come to a small stream. Turn right. In 10 minutes, you'll find yourselves on a residential street." We didn't need to be told twice. We ran through the darkness. The roar of the car faded into the distance. The bright white of the headlights faded into shadow. We didn't stop until we got to the stream, breathless and aching. Then we turned, like she instructed. We found ourselves on a quiet residential street, and knocked on the first door we saw. The police never found my car. They just tossed our file in with the rest of the strange occurrences on Victoria's Road. Disappearances, injuries, sudden mental breakdowns. We weren't the only ones dumb enough to drive down the road. But we were one of the luckiest. Other than a few scrapes and bruises, we were okay. So, to answer your question, yes, the legend of Victoria's Road is true. Every person who drives down it gets one question answered, absolutely truthfully. But the question they choose to ask is always the same. How do I get out of here? However, that doesn't mean our other questions went unanswered. The trauma of the experience forced us to ask the questions ourselves, to the people who could answer them. In the wake of such terror, asking out the girl you like or calling up your estranged dad just doesn't seem that scary anymore. We got our answers. Will you? Today's story was also featured in a new audiobook written by Blair Daniels and narrated by me, Jordan Grupe. Check out Don't Scream, 60 Tales to Terrify, available now on Audible. This was my first ever audiobook narration, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And the stories in this collection, written by Blair Daniels, were really, really good. Scary and full of great plot twists and interesting characters. Check out the description below for more details. Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info. If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/JordanGroupeHorror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward, and if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.